Hello everyone and welcome back to your very own channel, which is Divya English Class, and today we are going to read chapter number 6, Expert Detectives. So this chapter is an extract taken from Sharda Dwivedi's children novel The Broken Flute, and in this story Maya and Nishad are siblings aged 10 and 7 respectively. The story deals with their quest in finding out the real identity of a man called Mr. Nath. So now, let's see what happens in the story. This story is about two children, Maya, who is a 10-year-old girl, and Nishad, a boy of 7, whose nickname is also 7 because his name has been derived from the 7th note of the musical scale. They know a man whose name is Mr. Nath, who is a very secretive person. Maya thinks that he is a crook and she is willing to do anything to get the truth. So one day the children's marble rolls into Mr. Nath's room and Nishad gets a chance to see him and get all his questions answered. As Maya and Nishad walked back towards the clinic, Seven said that Mr. Nath didn't look like a monster like Maya had said. He also asked his sister if she had seen how thin he was. He added that maybe he was very poor and didn't have enough money to buy sufficient food to eat. Maya said that Mr. Nath couldn't be poor if he was a criminal because he would have money with him. Then she added that maybe he had ₹1,000,000 hidden away somewhere in the room. However, Nishad was doubtful and asked if she really thought that Mr. Nath, who looked too normal to be a crook, was a criminal. Maya answered that he was a crook and he wasn't starving because he had Ramesh to bring food to him from the restaurant downstairs. Nishad then said that it was impossible for Mr. Nath to have money because Mr. Mehta had told them that Mr. Nath didn't work anywhere. Maya exclaimed that that was the point which proved that her theory was correct. She said that he, Mr. Nath, have lots of money hidden somewhere and it was most probably in the trunk placed in his room. She added that it was probably full of fancy things like silver, gold and jewels. Nishad interrupted and said that her theory was rubbish. Maya called him stupid and said that she knew that she was right. Then she asked him if he had seen his scars. She told him that she couldn't see them as it was too dark. She added confidently that he had got the scars during a shootout with the police. Nishad told Maya firmly that their mother told them quite clearly that they were burnt scars. Maya said that perhaps the police had to set Mr. Nath's house on fire to force him out, and that was how he got the scars. However, Seven looked unsure. Next Monday was their mother's birthday. She had to work at the clinic and so Nishad went with her to Girgaon where the clinic was located. Maya, on the other hand, was spending the evening with a friend from school. When they both returned home, Nishad told Maya that he had also gone to see Mr. Nath, and Maya, after hearing that, felt almost annoyed that she hadn't been there with him. Seven had been thinking about Mr. Nath's sickly appearance. His appearance was very upsetting for Nishad. Seven wanted to do something for him. He told Maya that he had knocked at his door that evening and told Mr. Nath to open the door quickly. Mr. Nath opened the door and asked Nishad if he had lost another marble. Nishad answered in negative and quickly he took the man's hand into his own and shoved a chocolate bar into it. Maya asked him if he had a chance to peek into the trunk. Nishad was disappointed that she was interested only in finding out whether he was a crook or not. He told her that Mr. Nath didn't invite him inside his room, but then he smiled because he was about to tell her something which would have made her proud of him. He told her that he had found out something for her. He had gone down to the restaurant where Ramesh worked and had talked to him. Maya was certainly proud of him. She praised and patted him on the back. She even called him Mr. Detective. Then she said that she hoped that he had questioned Ramesh properly. Then he began telling her everything he had learned from Ramesh. He said that Ramesh had told him that he took 2 meals for Mr. Nath every morning and evening and 2 cups of tea, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Ramesh told him that Mr. Nath wasn't picky about what he ate. It was always the same food, 2 chapatis, some dal and a vegetable. He also told them that Mr. Nath paid cash and tipped well. Nishad told her one more thing. He said that Ramesh had told him something very strange. Almost every Sunday, he carried 2 lunches to Mr. Nath's room. One is for Mr. Nath himself and the other one for the visitor. The visitor was tall, fair, stout and wore spectacles. Ramesh told him that the visitor was very talkative, which was completely opposite to Mr. Nath's behavior, who hardly ever spoke. Maya praised her brother for his hard work. Then she told him that now they had made some progress with their inquiries. They would have to arrange all the facts systematically like experts so that they could catch the crook in a trap. Seven sighed and asked her how she could possibly go on and still imagine that he was a crook. He added that Mr. Nath looked too normal to be a crook. Maya replied that criminals could look quite ordinary. Then she took the example of the picture of the Hyderabadi housebreaker which was in the newspapers the previous day. She told him that even though that man was ordinary looking, he was a crook. However, Nishad was still doubtful. Next day, there was a heavy downpour. Dark clouds came together with lightning and roaring rolls of thunder which were bursting with all their fury. The streets were getting flooded. It was supposed to be a school day. However, no traffic could move through the flooded road, which resulted in an unexpected holiday. Since it was a holiday, Maya had decided to spend the day doing detective work. She sat at the desk in her bedroom. A sheet of paper was in front of her on the table. On the sheet of paper she wrote, "Catching a crook" in large block letters. Then she mentioned her and her brother's name as expert detectives and wrote that they were chosen by the whole world. After writing the heading and the subheadings, she began writing the main content. It took her half an hour to complete her work. When she was done, she turned towards Seven, who had been lying on his tummy, chin cupped in his palms, reading comics. She asked him if he wanted to hear what she had written. Seven nodded his head. She read the first fact from her page, that their suspect's name was Mr. Nath. Then she said that they must find his first name as they only know his surname. Nishad asked if in her opinion that was his real name. She answered that Mr. Nath was most likely not his real name. Then she added that most crooks have an alternate name. She put a big question mark after the Nath on the paper. She read on. The second fact was that the tenants at Shankar House said that Mr. Nath was mad, strange and unfriendly. Nishad didn't comment. The third fact was that he didn't talk to anyone and was mannerless. Nishad commented on the third fact. He said that Mr. Nath had talked to them. He also said that he was very polite to them. Maya explained that Mr. Nath talked to them only because he had to, as he was under their mother's medical treatment, and so he had to be polite to them. The fourth fact was that Mr. Nath didn't receive any letters. Seven nodded. Maya continued and told him that the fifth fact was that Mr. Nath had been living in room number 10 of the Shankar house for more than a year. The sixth fact was that Mr. Nath didn't work and sat in his room all day. The seventh fact was that the kids in the Shankar house and even some of the grown-ups were scared of him. The eighth fact stated that Mr. Nath had no visitors except for the tall, fair, stout and spectacled man who visited every Sunday for lunch. Number 9 was the last fact she had written. It stated that food and tea were taken to his room by Ramesh from the restaurant downstairs. Mr. Nath didn't care what he ate, paid his bill immediately and tipped well. Then she told her brother that her list had ended. She asked him if she had forgotten anything. After asking, she saw that Nishad was not paying too much attention to her list of facts. Nishad could say only one thing, that Mr. Nath must be lonely if he didn't have any friends. Maya grew so angry that she almost shouted at him and even called him an idiot. She was irritated because her brother was not understanding the point of her investigation. Nishad then said that it was fortunate that at least Mr. Nath had one friend, and that was the person who visited him on Sundays. Maya got a brilliant thought after listening to her brother. She told him that the visitor must have been Mr. Nath's partner in crime. She said that maybe he kept all the stolen money, and when he visited Mr. Nath, he would give a part of it to him for expenses. She exclaimed that she was surely right. Nishad told her angrily that if she kept on calling Mr. Nath a criminal, he would not want to discuss anything with her. He also said that the fact that Mr. Nath tipped Ramesh well meant that he wasn't a bad man. She said that Mr. Nath tipped Ramesh well because possibly Ramesh knew something about him which could reveal his truth, and so he was bribing Ramesh so that he could keep quiet and not tell the truth to anyone. Nishad was extremely angry at the accusation. Maya began getting fed up with his attitude. Maya asked Nishad how they could make any progress with their investigation if he would have the attitude. Nishad answered that he would cooperate only if she would give up the idea about Mr. Nath being an escaped crook. He added that she really made him angry by calling Mr. Nath a crook. Maya almost hit him after she heard his last comment. She shouted at him, saying that he made her angry. She asked him the point of all those inquiries he had done if he thought that he was not a crook. She asked him why he was bothered about him if he thought that he was a nobody. Nishad looked thoughtful as he was thinking about the answer to his sister's question. He told her that he wanted to know why he was so thin and why he was lonely. He also wanted to know why he didn't have any friends and lived all alone. Maya tried her best to make him understand. She told him that if he had been living in the Shankar house for a year and hadn't made any friends, there was something fishy about him. She said that he was obviously scared of making any friends because if someone would recognize him, he would be given up to the cops. Nishad replied to his sister that maybe the reason why Mr. Nath had no friends was because no one had ever tried to be his friends. Maya asked him why anyone would even bother being friends with him. However, Nishad was stubborn and said that he didn't care if he actually was as bad as Maya said. He liked him and he added that he was going to try and be Mr. Nath's friend. She laughed at his wish to be friends with Mr. Nath, who was a crook. She told him that he was crazy and if the cops would get to know that he was friends with a crook, they would take him to jail with him. Then she asked him if he wanted to go to jail. Maya was really angry and frustrated as her theory made no impression on Nishad. Nishad simply stared at her. He didn't give a reply as he wanted to remain firm on his words and not listen to his sister. He quietly walked out of the room. According to Maya, her theories had zero impact on him. So this is how the story ends here, with Maya's disappointment and an unsolved investigation. This story has an open ending which leaves it on the readers to investigate and find out what happened next. In the story, as you've seen, the two siblings turned into two young expert detectives in their mission to find out the truth about Mr. Nath and his unusual behavior. Their perspectives, however, were very different. Thus, Maya remained doubtful of the man and suspected that he was a crook. But on the other hand, Nishad remained sympathetic and was willing to be friend with Mr. Nath without prior judgments. So this also takes us to the moral of the story, which says that we should always be kind to people and should not make perceptions merely based on the things people say about someone. So, I hope you liked the story, and if you want to know more about the story, you can go and read the novel The Broken Flute, written by Sharda Dwivedi. So that's all for today. See you soon with another video. Thank you.